All right, and I just want to say to anybody watching this that if you have a dream and you suffer from mental health or social anxiety, don't let what you're experiencing hold you back from your dream. Shape your dream to you. Don't try to shape yourself to the stereotype of your dream.
I'm back out fresh on the scene, franchise best on the team, blue faces busting out the scene, new life is something like a dream, back out fresh on the scene, franchise best on the team, blue faces busting out the scene, new life is something like a dream.
Alright, what is so good, YouTube? It is Bri aka Hara here today with a new series that I'm going to be having on my channel. Thank y'all so much for the Twitter following that actually helped me come up with the name. Y'all had a lot of good suggestions, but the one I ended up going with was Tea with Bri.
I'm good, she good, we good, it's all good.
The purpose of this series is mainly going to be for discussions, healthy discussions, avocation, and education. So advocating for just different causes and things like that, and really just talking about pop culture, what's going on in the world. So I am not personally a psychologist, but I am obsessed and have spent several years just reading up on psychology and how the mind works, what makes us who we are, and I would actually wholeheartedly go get a doctorate in psychology. I love psychology that much, okay? And today's tea for the episode, I actually mix teas sometimes. I don't know who else does that, but I have a strong Earl Grey tea from the brand Tea Pigs, and then I have from the brand Buddha Teas a chaga mushroom tea. And chaga is good for energy and just overall well-being, feeling good. So, and the mixture I have today is with a little bit of honey and some stevia. But in general, with this series, my passion is bringing education and new perspectives to different topics. So comment below what future topics you'd like to see, and let's get started. Summer Walker is an R&B singer from Atlanta, Georgia that initially started releasing song covers on YouTube. Summer dropped different singles such as Session 32 and Girls Need Love last year in the summer of 2018, and this really her career into a massive success, especially after releasing her album Over It in 2019, which, girl, I be listening to that album, okay? I be all in the shower just, you don't know what I feel. You stay alone. And I love me some Summer, okay? I like her voice. Summer Walker has made the extremely brave decision to let her fans and audience know and open up about her social anxiety. And one of the first clips I was able to really see her just blatantly say this was on her Tiny Desk performance at the very end.
Look, I'm really freaking excited to be here, but I have social anxiety like a motherfucker.
Since announcing her social anxiety, we've been able to see it manifest in many ways that we'll talk about later in this video. And honestly, it became glaringly obvious to me after looking at comments, media, and just overall reactions to her behavior.
Social anxiety. Is this the outfit of a woman with social anxiety? I don't know. I don't even really know what that is.
That though mental health is prioritized in our discussion, there's still a lot of misinformation out there about mental health, and it just appears people just need a general boost in overall understanding of certain concepts, and that's okay because that's what we're here to do today, just to clear some things up and give more perspective. Alright, so the history of social anxiety. Social anxiety goes back as far as 400 BC. The Greek physician Hippocrates actually mentioned the fearful person as someone who is basically one with the darkness, or believes that all men are observing them, or thinks every man observes them. As per my notes, in 1994, the DSM-4 was published, and the term social anxiety disorder, which was abbreviated to SAD, replaced social phobia. And the DSM-4, which is now, many volumes ahead, is what a lot of psychologists and psychiatrists use in order to diagnose mental health disorders. Everything in the full spectrum that you can imagine is in that book. In the new edition, this disorder is defined as marked and persistent fear of one or more social or performance situations in which a person is exposed to unfamiliar people or possible scrutiny by others. And today, not much has changed about that definition in the future volumes of the book. One of the biggest fears of a social phobia / social anxiety is literally rejection, judgment, and being heavily scrutinized, like I said, in these social or performance-based situations. Now that we have talked about what social anxiety is, I think it is just so important to talk about what social anxiety is not. because there's a lot of confusion online. I am confusion. You are confusion. It's okay though. Social anxiety is not being introverted, and it is not shyness. Though introversion and shyness can manifest from a social anxiety disorder, they are not the same. Introversion and shyness do not inherently mean that someone has a social anxiety disorder. So I just want to make sure we're clearing that up. The reality is most of us will at some point in our lifetime feel real nerves, feel general shyness and or introversion when we are taken out of our comfort zone. This can include things like a new job interview, going to an event where there might be an unfamiliar crowd, changing schools, giving a presentation at work, giving a presentation in your class, standing up in front of your graduation to give us anything like that. It is just completely normal to feel nervous, to feel shy, to go into an introverted state even if you're not an introvert. That happens to me sometimes, you know? These things can also happen in social situations. Perhaps you have to make a really difficult phone call. Perhaps a friend really hurt your feelings and you want to open up to them. You might really feel very shy or even avoid or procrastinate on these things. However, it's important to note the difference between being shy or introverted, where one might procrastinate and or avoid something and feel a little antsy about things, like stress. Someone with a social anxiety disorder will actually feel very physical symptoms. So some of those symptoms are, and I'm gonna read it off my handy dandy list right here, okay? Behaviors associated with a social anxiety disorder: blushing, trembling, feeling of a rapid, uncontrollable heart rate, or feel that their mind is going completely blank, or a fogginess.
Thing that people need to hear.
I don't really remember, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
And sweating.
Yeah, I'm freaked the hell out. I'm sweating.
Feeling nauseous or sick to your stomach. Showing of a rigid body posture. Making very little eye contact or just avoiding eye contact completely.
Thank you, LBRN, and thank you, London on the track.
Or speaking in an overly soft voice, even if that's not the person's normal speaking tone.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I don't believe in regret when they made me get on stage.
They may find it scary or very difficult to be around other people, especially those that they do not already know.
Why? Music is my friend. I get to confide in because I don't talk to nobody anyway.
This person may also feel very, very self-conscious and awkward around other people, and that is also not negated by fame. You know, we make celebrities big in our minds when they're really just people as well. So you might be thinking, you're famous, why would I intimidate you? You know what I mean? Sometimes internally that's a normal thing to think. Disorders don't exclude anyone. They don't exclude anybody by their financial status, by their career status. They don't exclude anybody just by where they live. Sometimes they can, but in this case, not. They may even just stay away from places or avoid places where there are other people. In extreme cases of social anxiety disorder, someone may even have full-blown attacks of panic and just overall may even need to go to the hospital from the fear of being stricken by this situation. And in other extreme cases, what we've seen sometimes, especially in children with social anxiety disorder and some adults, mutism. A person may go mute or just have the complete inability to speak in certain situations.
When I have to talk, I'm talking.
Or in some children that have developed a PTSD and social anxiety disorder, you may see them go mute for months to years.
That was my 7.5-year-old logic. So I stopped talking for 5 years.
Which is really scary, okay? Now we're gonna get really, really serious about something I've been thinking about quite a bit, and I wasn't sure at first if I should put in this video, but honestly, being someone that does struggle with one disorder, which is, of course, attention deficit disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, I felt the need to advocate for this in this way. We need to be way more careful when we're speaking about mental health and the language that we're using, the verbiage we're using in terms of ourselves and other people. In almost every single video, I don't mean to generalize, but I'm so serious. In nearly every video I've seen speaking about this topic, the person has either, and not just videos, y'all, tweets, Facebook, videos, news, you know what I mean? In most of these cases, I'd say about 7 out of 10, roughly 70%, the person speaking about it says, I struggle with social anxiety as well. Now, I want to say that it's important that we focus on the language we use, because statistically, only 6.8% of the United States population experiences a social anxiety disorder, right? And most of that population is women, just based on clinical studies. You may really genuinely feel like you have something, right? But I think out of respect for individuals who have been seen, who have been treated, who have been diagnosed, please, 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 please refrain from acknowledging or saying that you have something that has not been diagnosed or treated by a medical professional, especially in the mental health field. Go get treated, get seen, get more than one opinion. With mental health, sometimes the wrong diagnoses can happen initially. Maybe you were nervous during the clinical questioning, or, you know, there's a lot of variables to this, y'all. Why this can be so dangerous. In my opinion, acute social anxiety is being just human, you know what I'm saying? But when you say you have a social anxiety disorder, that is a whole different ball game, right? This affects the overall complete quality of your life. And I know with Instagram and the social media world, it's easy to think that life looks like a highlight reel, but it doesn't. So sometimes we might be thinking, yeah, this does affect the quality of my life because my life doesn't look like these people on Instagram. But no, y'all, like when I say affects the quality of your life, it varies, but you're literally seeing it affect the quality of Summer Walker's life, career, and everything that she's got going on. We're literally watching it happen. So when you say that you have a disorder and you haven't been really seen for that or diagnosed for that disorder, it can get tricky because that language becomes dangerous, because you in your circles of people, within your following, within your family, become the poster child for this disorder. And then it creates a very harmful comparison where it's like, well, I have a friend or a family member or myself has this disorder and I can do that, so sis needs to get it together. And I just don't think that's very fair to people that are struggling with disorders. If you really, truly believe you have it, please go get evaluated and get diagnosed. Being someone with ADHD, there has been literally probably 98% of the times that I tell people I have it, someone's like,
I think I have that too. Oh my God. Like, I cannot stay on track when I'm doing work.
and I'm just sitting here like, it's really invalidating. And your intention might be to relate. It's human nature to want to relate back to people and want to, you know, drive conversations forward. But you can do that by asking questions, seeking further understanding in general. And even if you feel like you have something, ask somebody what their treatment process was like. How was it getting started? And then go on your own journey, right? Because someone's moment where they might be being vulnerable with you, advocating for themselves, trying to communicate something, being brave, you might be accidentally invalidating their entire moment unknowingly. So that's just something I wanted to just insert into this video. Sorry for the tangent, but not sorry, because it needed to be said. Also, another point I want to make, though I'll address technology later in this video, is that the internet has played a large part in making mental health like this trendy thing, and it's just so no. I've even seen people talk about anxiety as being relatable or quirky. In some cases, I've even seen people label it as cute. I said, it's cute on the internet until you can't do your job effectively. It's cute until you can't form solid relationships and you're struggling to connect with people in something you love. And it's cute until it has consequences of real life. Mental health is not cute. It is not relatable. It is not quirky. It is some real, and people that are genuinely struggling with this, no, it is not something to play with. Like, honestly, my literal doctor even said this. People who have certain things come in his office and actually wish they didn't. So from what we've already talked about, it is very clear that social anxiety disorder is very difficult to manage, and especially for an R&B megastar, okay? So as we've started to see, it's been manifesting in the interviews we've seen, in the performances, in the timeliness, in different things going on, to the point where Summer ended up having to cancel half the shows on her tour.
I just want to say that I really appreciate anyone who genuinely loves my music, plays the fuck out of my music, comes to the shows, comes to the meet and greets, supports me, and really love and accept and respect my personality. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to finish this tour because it doesn't really coexist with my social anxiety and my introverted personality. But I really hope that people understand and respect that at the end of the day, I'm a person. I have feelings. I get tired, I get sad, and it's just a lot. And so I don't want to lose myself for someone else. I want to give y'all what I can. So I'm going to keep making music, and I'm going to do a few shows, but I can't finish.
Some of Summer's fans have even claimed that she is faking her anxiety, or it's a gimmick or an act, which I personally think is one of the most awful things you could say to anyone on this planet, really. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if that's the case, what do you gain by doing that? How is that your place to say that to somebody? You know what I'm saying? Like, so Now, an important thing I want to get into is perceptions. Now, these are perceptions of social anxiety disorder from the outside looking in. That is also what's made me a little weary when people say they struggle with it too, but they have such an outside looking in perspective on Summer Walker. According to research from the outside, and this is from the NCBI Clinical Research Studies, I just wanted to insert that there, and all my resources and links will be in the description. According to research from the outside looking in, people with social anxiety disorder are many times seen by others as shy, quiet, backwards, withdrawn, inhibited, unfriendly, nervous, aloof, or completely disinterested. This explains so much about fans' experiences with her meet and greets and saying, I feel like she doesn't care about her fans. I feel like she wasn't even interested. She didn't want to be there. And the irony is, so many fans said that they support her because she's a representative for mental health and social anxiety. But when they're actually seeing the symptoms manifest, rather than acknowledging, like you would if someone had a broken leg or any other ailment, like, they might be walking a little slower on their crutches because of their broken leg, they're criticizing her for literal symptoms that you can see in any clinical study of social anxiety disorder. What the heck? Again, this video is to educate, so I will also be providing a ton of solutions and examples of celebrities who have been able to combat mental health in addition to maintaining a brand, just because I think that it's important to also not complain or just state annoyances, but to give solutions. So we'll be getting to that. All right, so what are the causes of social anxiety? There are 3 known causes that I've seen through research, and that's biological causes, environmental causes, and general life experiences. Now we're getting into the impact of technology on social anxiety and anxiety as a whole. Feelings of uncertainty are definitely the root cause of many anxieties across the board because we are unprepared to deal with the consequences of those uncertainty, and that's what creates a general feeling of anxiety. But in anxiety disorder, of course, this is severely heightened. And with technology, it's given us so much control over our lives and what we get to feel and experience. We decide what time we get to post and receive instant gratification. Like at 2 p.m. today, I'm gonna see a bunch of people say wonderful things about me. Like that's bananas, but that's our generation. We get to see what day our packages will arrive and even see getting a date the same day. We get to talk to infinite numbers of people online. So with technology taking away the fear and uncertainty, you'd think that'd be a good thing, right? Not quite. What technology has in fact done is actually made us more fearful and limited our ability to deal with the uncertainties of life or just unpleasant emotions as a whole. Technology has allowed us to avoid uncomfortable emotions such as awkwardness, uncomfortable silence, difficult conversation, tension, boredom, and more. Technology allows us to compose, edit, and perfect our response to everything. It allows us to control how we look and how we're perceived in general. Whereas when we're in person, there is no Google search, there is no Facetune, there is no just airbrushing of life. The scary truth is, in our real world offline, perfection doesn't exist. This is why you may meet a YouTuber in person who online is so charismatic, but in person is very shy, standoffish, aloof, or reserved. YouTubers are able to piece together our best takes and just mash them together. And that's why sometimes when I go on sets, they may be surprised that I'm able to do things in one take, because I do engage in public speaking and do things outside of YouTube. But here on YouTube, I still mess up. You know what I mean? Because I'm trying to make sure I get quality content out quickly. So I'll do, you know what I mean, a few takes and edit out certain ums and stuff like that. It's real. This is also the same reason you might meet a rapper who can't freestyle or a singer who may not sound the same live, because they're able to sit down, compose their work, and then get into a studio and take the best takes of every little bit and try this one verse 35, 40 times until they get it to sound exactly how they want. Whereas live, you get one shot. And that is why I respect like Broadway stars and stuff like that, because every single night they are one shot. Technology in general allows us to be at home alone for even a month at a time without having much verbal interaction. After all, cell phones are phones, you know what I mean? That's what they're for. They were initially made to talk to people, but now we type to people. And I think that's one of the interesting parts of our generation. All right, so now we're getting into solutions. If you're still rocking with me, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. I appreciate you. But yeah, every video like this, I will make a huge effort to show solutions so that my viewers who might be dealing with something or know someone that's dealing with it can be helpful to themselves and others, but also if the artist should ever see this video, something that could be helpful for them too. And knowing that someone's out there advocating for them, I just feel like would feel nice in general. So one of my biggest points is actually not about Summer Walker, it's about her team. I think they built an extraordinary, like powerhouse, sensational, trendy R&B brand, and it is one of the most stunning brands right now, but it is not the perfect brand for her.
No disrespect to this interview, because I like you. I won't tell you I like you if I don't like you. I like you. Yeah, but even interviews, I told them I didn't want to do interviews because I just feel like I said what I had to say in my music. So I feel that.
Good teams develop brands that fit to the strengths and needs of their artists. They do not create powerhouse brands and then try to shove artists into them, because that's going to be a setup for failure. Our true colors, our true needs, our true wants, who we are is always going to shine through any brand. So if they're synonymous, you're going to have a beautiful, beautiful career in general. I wanted to also talk about the topic of recluse artists or the mysterious artists. You know what I'm saying? So though her anxiety comes from verbal speaking, these are some things I just thought would be good to note for other people who have anxiety who might want to become music artists. Some of these recluse artists, some examples would be XXYYXX, the producer from SoundCloud, Daft Punk, where we see them on the red carpet, all these events, wearing full face gear, masks, all that good stuff. And then we have artists like her. Her came out as a silhouette initially, and now she's on the scene. Okay, honey, she has stepped out and let us know what's going on, but she came out mysterious at first. And then we have artists like the Gorillas, who's an animated band, right? And then let's talk about also artists who didn't tour. Okay, one of the biggest bands of all time, the Beatles. 1966, they announced, well, they didn't technically announce it, they just stopped touring. They stopped accepting bookings. They just decided they were over it. No touring for us, right? And the reasons that the Beatles stopped touring, I have written down here, because of poor sound in live shows.
My tour that I've been doing, I have up sound people,
exhaustion,
Get tired.
and unease about their own personal security. And for me, I believe mental health is a part of an artist's security in any record deal. One of the artists that I left out purposely because I want to talk about her because I love her. Okay, I'm a low-key stan. I love Sia. Sia is the perfect example of an artist who has channeled her image and the way she's built her brand around like protecting her mental health, right? Roughly 10 years ago, Sia decided to altogether just stop showing her face. Of course, in her earlier music she did, but 10 years ago she said, no more. and she doesn't show her face in any interviews, live performances, or music videos.
Like, why is it we don't get to see her face?
It's just to make it, I guess, a little bit harder for me to lose my privacy or anonymity.
Yes.
Which is so rare for artists today. And she's one of the biggest pop acts of all time. Sia really values her privacy, as she stated on Ellen.
So I have seen what your face looks like. I know what you look like. But whenever you perform, you do not like to show your face. And I think people don't understand why. So explain that first.
Well, it's so that I can go to Target and buy a hose if I want to. Or if I'm in need of a restroom and I can't find one, I could go by the side of the road. And nobody would be following me with a camera.
And in reference to what I said about having a wonderful team who builds your brand around you, here is what Sia had to say about how her management was able to pull off having an artist that never shows themselves in full.
Well, we just kept saying no to different record deals that included like touring and promotion, and we just kept saying no, and finally RCA were just like, okay, let's try this then. You're right, it could work for me. I guess I'm waiting for the right number to get me off the sofa, because I really like being at home.
You like just to chill.
Dog.
Also, Sia has been very public and open about her bipolar disorder.
You're bipolar.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. Oh.
Though I haven't found any clips that can fully confirm this is just brief speculation here, but I feel like Sia's hair mimics the bipolar disorder awareness ribbon, which is black and white. So in a way, it's almost like her long bangs and her style that blocks her face. It's almost like, hey, I'm blocking my face for my mental health, my protection, my privacy, and my peace of mind, using the symbol of what she's going through to do so, which I think is just phenomenal, beautiful branding and execution. So in Chandelier, Sia's music video, you'll see Maddie Ziegler from Dance Moms, basically as a young Sia, if you will, with the wig, and it's all white. And in this song, when you look at it, it's literally like, if you will, a manic episode, right? It's really in your face. It's really like sporadic and impulsive and just freeing. But she's also talking about unhealthy coping mechanisms. So Sia has definitely used her music to actually speak to things that she deals with in her life and other people deal with. Whereas if you look at the song The Greatest, you'll actually see that Maddie's wig at the end is black, and it alludes to the incident at Pulse nightclub where you see the rainbow coming from Maddie's eye at the end, which definitely alludes to the community. We can't say it on YouTube anymore because they'll demonetize us, which is just absurd, right, y'all? But the community, hey, y'all. And yeah, so I think that's also something saddening and mimics a depressive episode. So Sia uses her music, her brand, her image, and everything to build around what she needs as an artist, but also convey some really strong messages in some really upbeat music that you have to really like dive deep into to see her, Sia. All right, so Jules, you made a wonderful point about this in her video. Go check out her channel. But she said something that I was also thinking about, where if you have a wonderful lighting team, you can make it at your shows where you don't even see the audience. And if your earpieces and stuff is done well enough, barely hear them too. You can cater your stage performances to where you do feel like you're at home in your room and do set designs that make you more comfortable, right? And if Summer doesn't want to tour ever again, she doesn't have to. She can license her music to TV shows, movies, commercials. At the Super Bowl, like, people who license their music make so much money. Licensing is one of the biggest ways to make money in the world. Look at Spotify. We're licensing music to people by saying, hey, if you pay the subscription, you can listen to your favorite songs. You know what I'm saying? So, like, licensing is a great way to get royalties and make the music you love without ever having to be super social, which is cool. Also, she writes a lot of her music, so she can write out of the comfort of her home or in the studio with, you know, people she's comfortable with, and then sell written versions of her songs. It's also cool too, and make demos for people. All right, and I just want to say to anybody watching this that if you have a dream and you suffer from mental health or social anxiety, don't let what you're experiencing hold you back from your dream. Shape your dream to you. Don't try to shape yourself to the stereotype of your dream. All right, so I wanted to answer some commonsensical questions I saw online as well. How is she a dancer? We know what kind of dancer, but she has anxiety. So people with social anxiety disorder are not hermits, y'all. They don't just live in some crevice in the middle of nowhere and don't talk to anybody. That's a very extreme case. Dancing, I don't know if y'all ever been to the club, but does not require a lot of personal conversation if you don't want to. And Summer Walker has been very, very clear that verbal conversation and performance, speaking, singing, talking, all these things are the things that she gets the most triggers for her anxiety for. I just don't understand this question, okay? Again, I think people confuse social anxiety disorder with being shy. You cannot be shy and still feel physical feelings of pain and fear when you're about to talk to someone. Also, according to the NCBI study that I referenced earlier, they showed that most people with social anxiety disorder are in fact employed, but they tend to miss more days of work, be later, and sometimes have productivity issues at the job. So some people ask, why would she choose to do a field that requires her to be social? Because it's what she loves. Like, I feel like that's common sense. And also, if you look at contracts, what Sia's team said, they had to deny people for years and a long time before she found a contract with a label that worked for her. Whereas I feel like with Summer, she's in a contract that might have a lot of meet and greets and performances and things in it that looks very standard to a new artist, and probably got into that contract fully thinking that she could do it. And then realizing, as she's only been in the industry, y'all, for a year, and her album released this year. We are still in 2019, okay? So y'all are putting the pressure on and comparing her, not y'all, but people online, and comparing her to artists that have been in this game for decades or have these crazy teams that's been killing things, you know what I'm saying? And I just think that's really unfair. I understand having some criticism, but trying to say, well, Beyonce can, I'm like, no, we're not about to compare the two, because Beyonce's been in this game since she was a teenager. Okay, that's not the same, okay? All right, another question. Why is she so lively and loud on her Instagram stories and Instagram and with London and all that, but at her show, she's dry? I'm like, well, to put it in practical terms, it's the same reason you can talk your partner or best friend's head off, but when you at an event or assembly and they ask for volunteers, your hand stays down. Why didn't you volunteer at the assembly? Common sense, y'all. 2,000 eyes of people that might judge you is very different than being around a loved one and someone you trust. It's just very simple, in your home, in your car. All right, now I just want to include some practical tips for people with social anxiety. These also can apply to shyness or introversion. So yes, one of them is documenting your wins and small victories. This might sound corny and cheesy, but writing things down actually has very proven studies within the brain and that mind to muscle connection of how you feel about certain things. So set small baby goals for yourself, milestones, and really celebrate when you do those things. You know what I mean? Don't compare yourself to someone who doesn't go through what you're going through, right? So for somebody, getting out of bed and stepping outside to go get the mail might be no brainer. Let's do it. Someone with a social anxiety disorder might be nervous that a neighbor might talk to her. People gonna see how you gonna look, how you gonna be perceived, how you gonna pick it up. Is it gonna be wet? Like all these different things. And that might be a huge task. So by setting these small milestones and say, let's try to get the newspaper today. And if I get to get the newspaper, I'm gonna have a blueberry muffin. That's what it is. You know what I mean? And write that down. And then also make sure to write down that you were safe. Okay, so if you did it and you made it out alive after doing it, so also annotate, hey, I did this and I was safe. I was fine. I didn't die. All is well, because sometimes it creates a connection in the brain to not trigger fear in certain situations as often. Of course, social anxiety disorder does not mean not being able to go out and socialize and do things, because we have to do that to function, y'all. It's a part of our jobs. It's a part of our everyday life. It's needed, right? So I'm not coming at it from the angle of just don't socialize like some people are saying. I'm coming at it from the angle of, hey, rehearse your introductions. So if you do ever have a meet and greet again, rehearse exactly what you're going to say. I don't care if you say the same thing to 10,000 people. Do what makes it easiest for you. Keep a journal and also write down patterns that you notice when you're most anxious, when you're least anxious, who's there, like just general things. Write them down. Knowing that it's okay to say no. I commend Summer for noticing something and starting to cancel these shows. That is a huge step. All right, so last tip, try to swap screen time for face-to-face interactions as much as possible, at least once a day, whether it's face-to-face, talking on the phone, just try to do at least that, because sometimes, and this applies more for shyness and introversion, but like try to do it just at least once, even if for just a few minutes. I'm gonna go to Starbucks and order a coffee. Like, you know what I mean? Try to just like to put the phone down as well and practice having these interactions, even if they're so small. And finally, be your own advocate and let loved ones, colleagues, and people around you know exactly what you need. And this applies to this situation as well, which again, like I said, I commend Summer for actually saying, hey, this is not working for me, and I'm going to do what's best for me. I'm still going to make music. And for those who complained, I don't know what there is to complain about. I really think the fact that she was able to notice this in less than a year, in a few months, and correct the behavior, I applaud corrected behavior rather than coming down on somebody. You know what I mean? Now, if you keep messing up, that's another story. But the fact that she corrected the behavior says a lot. Okay, and lastly, just to close out, this video was mainly made out of a slight concern. I've been seeing some concerning things online, and it's reminding me of a previous artist that I've seen, okay? And it's very tough for me to even say this, but it's real, y'all. I understand not getting your money's worth or just let down about the service you received, and I even understand wanting someone to do better or be a better version of themselves. What I won't condone and sit on my platform today and allow is people to kick somebody when they're telling you that they're down. I won't allow it. I won't. And booed before and everything. And they booing Summer Walker! And it's reminding me of this tragic clip. Basically, fans told this woman that 40 euros were worth her mental well-being, and this was her last show. So I wonder how they feel today knowing that those fans that booed her were at her very last show on this planet. Healthy criticism, healthy solutions, healthy dialogue, and the old saying goes, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. So on this episode of Bri and Tea, I only finished half my tea, so we're gonna drink this, y'all. Love y'all, peace out, gang, and I will see you in my next video. Comment below some kind words, some encouragement for anybody that might be watching this that deals with social anxiety, some kind words for Summer, should she stumble upon this video. And, you know, we get more flies with honey than vinegar, y'all. If you wanna see positive change, be the example of that change. Don't be an internet demon. Cheers.